Years ago, when she was still very young, Doña Cachita arrived with her husband to this little town, Vicente Noble. They were drawn there by a promise of jobs and better conditions for raising their family. Back then, the town was something else entirely.
La mera esa que había, pues las otras eran calles porbosas, eso eran corrales y la gente caminaba mucho en burro, la gente iba al matadero, las mujeres yo veía que iban hasta de carza.
But since the early 1980s, Vicente Noble, this small town in the southwest of the Dominican Republic, has been undergoing profound change, brought about by the near-massive emigration of the town's women to Spain and other countries, and the savings they send in the form of remittances.
El pueblo también ha cambiado mucho, el pueblo, porque aquí había mucha casita de lodo, de tabla de coco. Ahora usted lo que ve mansiones.
From almost every household on any one of these streets, some woman has emigrated abroad.
Se fueron muchas. Arrendaban su casa, su mamá y su papá arrendaban lo que tenían.
Ella se fue primero. Arrendaron la casa de su mamá, que hacía que se hacía antes. Pudo arreglar papeles y se lo llevó al...
The increase in women emigrating from the least developed countries is related to changes in the labor market, both nationally and internationally. This is due to the social changes that have occurred throughout Europe in the last decades. That is, on the one hand, European women have been incorporated into the workforce. You could say they've stopped doing all of the work in the home that they used to do for free. And this need still exists. Houses need to be cleaned, children need to be taken care of. In fact, 85% of work permits issued by Spain to Dominican immigrants go to women, and 95% of these are concentrated in domestic service.
Desde que yo me fui de acá, pues he estado trabajando en casa de familia.
The agricultural crisis of the last decades has increased male unemployment, also reducing a man's role as economic provider in the household. As a result, women saw themselves in the position of having to look for income to maintain their households, while still doing all of the housework.
Pero aquí las doñas del pueblo vendían habichuela en la cabeza con ponchera, vendían maíz, palitos, unos dulcitos de coco.
The opportunities offered women in the job market don't allow them to meet the needs of their households. To these precarious salaries, another burden is added. A high percentage of these women function as head of household.
Muy duro, tengo 4 hijos. Yo sola los creo los 4.
Hard pressed by their situation, more and more women from the poorest regions have come to see immigration as a strategy to ensure their family's survival and progress.
Ella se fue, creo, por el futuro de nosotros.
Fui a España, duré 3 años y no conozco nada. No salí a la calle para no gastar. El mes que cobraba, el mes que lo mandaba, mi mamá me lo guardaba en el banco.
In the middle of rural Vicente Noble, cement and metal rods soon became the most obvious sign of progress. The reward for these countless sacrifices must be put on display. And this demonstration serves as a stimulus for many other women, and men too, to go on the same adventure.
Se va la mujer, después luego se van los hijos también, y esos muchachos han dado un cambio porque aquí vivían, imagínense.
Ella me mandaba 10,000 pesos y lo fui guardando, y cuando tuve una cantidad más o menos de inicial, pues comenzamos esta casa.
Today, almost all of the economic activity in Vicente Noble revolves around the considerable flow of remittances sent by those working abroad, the grand majority of them women.
La emigración es que ha hecho subir este pueblo. Hay meses que llega a millones, 20 millones.
For these women travelers, family responsibility comes first. Helping to meet the basic needs of their loved ones remains the most important and sometimes only goal and possibility.
Mi hermana tiene 3 hijos, la cual soy yo que sé de ellos.
Con ese dinero se utiliza para comprarle los alimentos a ella y aparte de eso hemos comprado una tierrita.
Mis hijos lo primero que le hice fue comprarle una computadora porque empezaron a estudiar y luego dándole caprichito a los hijos que una pasola y ya luego fue cuando empecé a construir mi casa.
But despite the fact that their family's welfare is the main reason for the migrant women's efforts and sacrifices, it is precisely within the family that the negative side effects of this process are felt first.
Muchas familias se han desintegrado porque los niños han estado pequeños, las abuelas se han quedado con ellos, le mandan su dinerito, ellos como ya se ven un poquito grandes, ya quieren gobernarse y coger su pasolita por ahí.
Muchos hogares destruidos, hay muchos jóvenes que se han dañado por falta de su padre y de su madre.
To date, it all appears as though migration and remittance money have contributed little to achieving substantial change in women's condition. These women have migrated and have become economic providers. They sustain their households economically. In many cases, that has allowed them to acquire a certain status. That is, once they become the main breadwinner, in many cases they also gain a wider margin to negotiate or to make decisions or attain other goals. Now then, whether there will be other changes beyond the ones that we're seeing right now, which are a bit limited, that's what's not so clearly happening yet.
Pero que ese yo no quería que se fuera, que estaba estudiando en la universidad, porque ya estaba al terminar ya.
Still, the dream of those who have left is to be able to return one day and live with dignity in their home community.
Y entonces ya regresar para quedarme ya, definitivo. Sí, porque tengo mi casa, mis hijos, mi negocio. Y además como que tenía ilusión era trabajar allá para vivir aquí.
Quisiera ahorrarme algo de dinero para venir, no sé, a poner un negocio o lo que sea, o mi mundo está aquí.
Remittances represent a significant part of the region's gross domestic product, and it is fair to expect that they should contribute to improving the quality of life of the women who generate them, as well as of the community as a whole. I believe that remittances can play a very important role in the development of countries and in meeting the Millennium Goals. By that I mean reducing poverty, if the gender perspective is taken into account. Men and women have different needs, and they should be considered differently when policies are developed and when programs are created to support these policies. And in the case of remittance, this is not happening. These women have additional responsibilities. They are the ones who are supporting their households, and their roles don't change at all. They're still discriminated against both inside and outside the home. The fight for a better life brought Doña Cachita once before to Vicente Noble, and the same fight spurred her daughters, granddaughters, and grandsons to travel to Spain. Today, international emigration generates billions of dollars in remittances for developing countries, and more than 50% of this money is produced by women. Therefore, it is only from a gender perspective that development policies can be viable and create true progress for women, their families, and society as a whole.